Thank you, Gladys.
Yeah, we are very happy to hear from you about CBC. And my very first question would be, what is your take about the success of the competence-based curriculum so far? Someone might ask, it has been years since we started, the country kicked off the implementation of CBC. From where you sit, are you satisfied with how the country has run this particular curriculum so far?
In 2016, the government started training and retooling teachers, preparing teachers for this particular system, so that we have a number of teachers who have undergone training in pedagogy and other methods of teaching, so that as much as we have all the schools right from primary to junior secondary, even once we get into senior secondary, we are saying that somehow we are prepared as far as teacher capacity is concerned for them to be able to undertake the necessary work that they are supposed to do in imparting the knowledge to our pupils. And this particular one is also centered on the runner, such that actually not so much on the teacher part, the runner, but the necessary skills for teachers to teach this particular level of education, CPC. I think a number of them are prepared properly, and we have built capacity at that particular level such that they should be able to teach. Because we have had an engagement with World Bank, and we will be getting support of amounts ranging to 10 billion or so, which will be able to put up about 80,000 laboratories in all our schools countrywide.
Waziri, various stakeholders are saying that the competence-based curriculum was hurriedly implemented, and they're actually calling for the government to sort of halt the continuation of CBC until such a time when the country is ready. What do you have to say about that?
The greater percentage of Kenyans, 68% of the report that was initially given to the president, actually said we should be able to proceed with competence-based curriculum, CPC, and it was only, I think, about 14% who said we should be able to do away with the system. So generally, a greater percentage of Kenyans say yes, we have few challenges which we will be able to handle as a country, which we will be able to mitigate by taking various measures which as a government and a ministry will be able to undertake. But generally, Kenyans are at a level where they accepted that we should be able to go ahead with CBC.
Let's talk about probably the budget allocation for CBC. How much do you probably as a ministry are looking forward to the allocation? And talk to us also about the 15,000 capitation per student. Is it really enough? Comparing to, like you're alluding, the private schools are already ahead. Does that in a way disadvantage people in public schools, or what is the government doing to ensure that there is a catch-up so that those learners who are in public schools also are not left behind by their counterparts of private?
Yeah, thank you very much, Gladys. Those in public schools are not going to be disadvantaged in any way. One is that the government has been able to procure 17.8 million textbooks covering each and every subject in this curriculum, as it were. And as I said, the books have been dispatched to each and every school that is having junior secondary school. Two, we have also come up with a figure of 15,042 per student, which will also be given to each and every school considering the number of enrollment, the number of students. We are also engaging various other stakeholders and development partners. One such partner that we have been able to engage with is World Bank, which has also agreed to finance CPC with 10 billion, and out of the 10 billion, as I said, according to our estimate, to construct a proper preparatory requires about 1.2 million. So we are also going to give that money to various primary schools in all parts of the country, and of course we will be doing this with the support of members of parliament.
Let's have a look at in the issue of the directive by the government that schools with less than 45 students should be merged. When one listens to such a directive, the issue of schools in arid and semi-arid areas arises, and it's very likely that some of the schools in such regions don't have the capacity of 45 students or 45 learners per se. What is going to happen to students in those particular regions? And also talk to us about the issue of congestion, bearing in mind that when you move schools from this particular school to school B, the issue of congestion arises.
Yeah, thank you, Gladys. We did come up with the guidelines, and were able to set a very clear criteria on the formula that was going to be used in order to register junior secondary schools. And of course, one of the factors that we were considering was the level of enrollment. We did set a figure of 45 per classroom, such that the number we are supposed to have is 45. But the other very key factor that we consider is the distance from one school to another. That is one other very key factor. So that if we find one school is so far from another, we don't have to go by the figure of 45. We can actually even come down to 20. The purpose of setting 45 as a criteria in order for a school to succeed as a junior secondary school is because there are a number of primary schools which are so near to each other. But in other areas which we have said that schools are far from each other, we have actually gone to 20, where we even have 20 students, and we are flexible in this. We have said where we find that the distances are far from each other and broader school do not qualify, we are flexible, and we have given so many of such schools to qualify as junior secondary schools.
The government is speaking about 100% transition into junior secondary schools, but as late as Monday last week, over 200,000 students are yet to report. Are you probably aware of where they are, and what are you doing as a government to ensure that every other school-going child is enrolled at a particular junior secondary?
We are monitoring and getting the figures on daily basis. The announcement I made last week on Monday, the number that had not been able to register in junior secondary school was then 201,000 out of the 1.2 million that are supposed to be in junior secondary. As of today, specifically today, the number is now 77,000, and we are having a breakdown of the counties which are not doing well. And it is for that particular purpose that I'm having a meeting with the county commissioners of Kware, Kirifi, and the other local leaders of those two counties and the other counties that we are not doing well, so that in those counties we also make sure that we are having 100% transition.
After junior secondary school, learners are supposed to proceed to senior secondary schools, but you already have teething problems being experienced under the junior secondary school. What is the government doing to ensure that as students proceed to secondary schools, the problems or the challenges we have under the junior secondary are not replicated when it comes to the government implementing CBC under senior secondary schools?
Yeah, thank you. We are working proactively in a sense that as we move forward, we will be able to retool the teachers, many more of them, so that as far as teachers are concerned, we have a proper level of preparedness, proper capacity building, and as you are aware, Gladys, this particular year, government employed 30,000 teachers, and a good number of them that were employed are those that are going to teach in junior secondary. As we go to senior secondary, we are getting better prepared because we have enough time for us to be able to prepare. And in senior secondary, we are going to have 3 pathways.
Ozeri, you mentioned about Kwale and Kilifi being some of the regions where learners have not reported 100% to junior secondary. Could you probably mention to us some of other counties who are facing the same challenges apart from the 2?
Yes, we have other counties, Gladys, like counties where we are having insecurity. Turkana, for example, we are also not having very impressive registration in that particular county. And in week or 2, I will also be going to Turkana for that particular purpose. I know there are schools which have been affected in one way or the other, and as a government we are also dealing with those particular problems. There are schools where we require food, and one of the other things that we are doing as a government, particularly the 26 ASIL counties, we are providing school feeding program in a primary and a junior secondary school. So I'm sure food is already arriving in those counties, and this is one other factor that I'm sure even those who are at home will be able to come back to school.
Thank you so much, Ozeri, for your time. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.